Who can limit our future? It depends on what we make of it. He's an enemy. On top of that, he's shot, and now he is on your doorstep. What would you do if you were the doctor or his wife? The doctor knows that the bullet's still there and he has lost a lot of blood. This is the time to operate. Let's start. Straight away asks the American, what have you planned to do with me? Because he's afraid. You can see the flicker of fear in his eyes. Hello and a very warm welcome to your prep school English classes. I'm your English teacher, Kshama. In this session today, we are going to take up yet another chapter from your textbook, Vistas, named as The Enemy. Now, by looking at the length of this chapter, with regard to how many pages it considers or consists of, you might think that this chapter itself is your enemy. But hold on, it's only until you unravel what is there within these pages, you'll realize, was this really my enemy? Not at all. Let's understand what's there in this session. I can't wait to tell you what is there in this session. Now, we're going to talk about the author as always, then the background, the summary, as well as we are going to recap what was there in the entire chapter. Okay, let's waste no time and understand who is the author of this particular lesson. The name of the author is Pearl Comfort Sinden Stryker Buck, also known as Pearl S. Buck. Okay, she was an American writer and a novelist. Her best-known work was The Good Art, the best-selling novel in the United States in 1931 and 1932. That was her best work, as well as she won Pulitzer Prize in 1932. Then in 1938, she became the first American woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. Nobel Prize in Literature, okay? For her rich and truly epic descriptions of peasant life in China and for her masterpieces, two memoir biographies of her missionary parents. Now we get to know that she's the one who has received Nobel Prize in Literature, okay? And not just that, for what work? For the depiction of rural lives of peasant people in China, okay? Not just that, two memoirs or biographies of her missionary parents, of her parents as well. So she has done quite a number of vivid kinds of works as well. Let's see what does she have in store for us today. Okay. Now, the story starts by giving us a description of a doctor who belongs to Japan. He's a Japanese doctor, and we are given a wonderful description of the place that he lives in. It's nearby ocean. Who wouldn't want to have a house nearby ocean, isn't it? Now, he lives by the ocean. It is also a place that he grew up in as a child. So, he has come back to this place and he lives there along with his wife, children and everybody. Okay, that's what we get to know. He's a doctor. Dr. Sadao's house, Japanese coast, nice setting up of the scene. Okay, where he played as a little boy, that we got to know. His father used to say, in those islands yonder, they are the stepping stones of future for Japan. Okay, he would say, as a grown-up, as a father, he would say, these places are the stepping stones for Japan. Japan's future lies in these places. But Sadao, as a little boy, he wouldn't understand. He would say, where exactly? What? Then, who knows to where? His father would say, we don't know where. Okay? Who can limit our future? It depends on what we make of it. His father, these are the ways in which he used to teach them a lot of these stuff. The future of Japan is limitless and we don't know to what limits, heights we can go to. Then, education was the chief concern, like to all Asian parents for that matter. To this Japanese father of Dr. Sadao, education for him was the major concern. His son had to study, okay? So at 22, that's the reason Dr. Sadao, before becoming the doctor, at 22, he was sent to America to study surgery and medicine. Then later on, at 30, when he finished his studies and everything, he returned back to Japan. He came back to Japan. Before father died, not only did he, got to see our Sadao over here as a successful doctor, but in addition to that, famous not only as a surgeon, but also as a scientist. He was working on a couple of research. So he was also known as a scientist. Bonus for him, for the father, all that he wanted was to see his son Sadao as a doctor. But now over here, he has also become a scientist. Then, perfecting a discovery, wounds entirely clean up. How to clean up wounds entirely. That's what the research topic of his was. Not been sent abroad with troops. Now, this is the time period of World War as we see it. Okay, he has not been sent along with the troops when the World War is happening. He is over here working on his research. Okay, that's what we get to know, the backdrop of it as of now. Then, it's the time of the World War. We don't know World War I, World War II, let's understand that, okay? But all we know that there is war happening. After that, old general is being treated. The old general of Japan is being treated by who? He is treated by Sadao. So hence, this is also another reason why Sadao did not go with the troops, and he is over here, treating this old general. Then, raising clouds are seen. A couple of hours later, we see that the environment around the house is changing. The atmosphere is changing. The clouds are rising. It is near the ocean. It's the coast, of course. Then he went in. His wife's name, we get to know his wife's name is Hannah. Okay. He went inside for wife and children. Then, welcomed with a smile. He is welcomed by his wife with a broad smile. Then, we get to know what is the story behind their marriage. Okay, it's a love-turned-arranged marriage. How does that happen? So, they both met in America. Okay, one of the professor's house, there was a party or something, so they met over there. But Sadao is such an orthodox, so true to his culture and country and everything. He did not, although he liked her and would wanted to talk to her, he did not propose her or told her that he loved her until it was confirmed that she is also a Japanese girl. Okay, so met in America. Japanese only then confirmed the love and told her. By chance at a professor's house they met, almost ignored. He had almost ignored going to the professor's party. But look at the way things have turned out now. He has found the love of his life. Okay. The, party over there, it had the house where the party was held. It had small rooms and bad food. The professor's wife was also very talkative. She was a chatterbox. Then, will love if possible. If only, there were two things that mattered. A, she had to be a Japanese girl. B, his father had to approve of this marriage. And if he would agree only if she was a Japanese girl. So it was all interconnected, isn't it? Now, finished studies, then came home, told father that she is a Japanese girl. So will I be allowed to marry her? Can I take her as a bride? Then marriage in the old Japanese way, it took place in a very Japanese, very cultural orthodox way. Then they lived perfectly happy. Okay, after that. Now that's what we know about Hannah and Dr. Sadao. Now we got to know Dr. Sadao and father's dynamics. Then we got to know Hannah and Sadao. Let's move on. Okay. A man flung up out of the ocean, out of the blue, when the entire atmosphere around the house, around the coast was changing. Suddenly a man flung out of the ocean. It was as though he was thrown out of the ocean. He seems to be coming forward and eventually he seems to be crawling. Like with the help of his hands, he's crawling, coming towards the house. Who is that? Hannah cried loud. She cried, who is that? Then we get to know more. This has gotten all of a sudden very interesting. Mile or two away, there were fishing villages, some 2 miles away from the house, but there were no boats or anything that was seen. Only bare and lonely that particular day. Okay, because the weather was as such. Then he is wounded. They get to know that this man is wounded. He's not just some man walking towards their house. He is wounded. Let's get to know more about him. He has an old cap and his garments are ragged. It is all torn out. Okay. Soaked in seawater. He is wounded. His garments are all torn and he is wearing an old cap. Not just that. Then when they saw the face, there it was, the terror. He is a white man. Now the war is between Japanese people and American people. And he is who? A white man, a guy from America. They assume that he is a guy from America. Then there are instances that prove that he is a guy from America. Let's understand. He has yellow hair and yellow beard. So Hannah notices that and they get to know this is enemy. What do we do with him now? And when they go near him, it is, it becomes evident that he is wounded because the sand over the place where he just falls down, the entire sand has turned red, which means he's bleeding. Okay. He was unconscious and he knew nothing where he was, what was happening. He knew nothing of that sort. Okay. Searched for the wound. Then, Sadao being the doctor that he is, he searched for the wound so as to cover it up. Then it is a wound from a gun. He has been shot. Then it was, reopened. The flesh was all, blackened and there was powder that could be seen. Shot and not tended. It makes it obvious that this guy who has been shot, he has not been tended and somehow he has managed to escape. He's an enemy. On top of that, he's shot, and now he is on your doorstep. What would you do if you were the doctor, or his wife for that matter? What would you do? Do you take him and nurture him, tend to him on the humanity grounds, or would you surrender him? What would you do with him, or kill him? What would these people do? Let's understand now, okay? Then, oh, how he's bleeding. They exclaim as to what has happened to this guy. Look at his condition, so poor, so terrible. Then, what shall we do with this man then? Sadao has already involuntarily, him being the doctor that he is, professional that he has already started to search for the wound, figure out what could be done and everything. Hana's like, what are we going to do with him? He is in a poor, very terrible condition, but what are we going to do with him? Then, the doctor packed the wound, tried to pack the wound, cover it up, as agreed by Hannah, thought that, the kindest thing to do as of now, let's just put him back to the ocean. That is only better. If he is here, he'll be caught, he'll be shot again and everything, he'll be executed. But the kindest thing, look at the brutality of it, the kindest thing to do as of now is just, let us just put him back to the ocean. Then, fear of getting arrested was also there. If we keep him over here, definitely we are going to be arrested. This is practically, this is anybody in his or her situation, they would have thought about these things, right? Now, American, he might have been an American. They take wild guesses now. Now, is he an American? Is he a sailor? Then they get to know based on the cap, which he was wearing. Based on the cap, they get to know he was a sailor of the American warship. Very clear. He is, as much as they get to know about him more and more and more, they realize how much of a cruel enemy, or he belongs to the enemy pack, right? Now, US Navy, it is written, he is a war prisoner. If you have found him in the enemy country, he is your prisoner now, isn't it? So, he is the sailor of American warship. That is clear. Then, might have been escaped, and that is the reason he is shot. If only this enemy or Americans would have been turned into the police. Now, if only they get to know, people over here get to know, okay, then we will be arrested, we will be taken. If we don't submit him by ourselves, would have been turned into the police. But common wound, he has a foolish face and has a common wound that we have to tend to. If only he was like anybody else. The whole gist of this one is that if only he was a random person with no wounds and everything, who belongs to America, definitely he was a true enemy and, whole person. If only he was a whole person intact, he would have been surrendered to these people. But with a foolish face, he actually has a wound. Now that has to be tended, says Sadao. You see that, there is a conflict in these people. There is a dilemma that these people are going through. Should we tend to him on humanity grounds, or should we not? Should we surrender him because he is enemy? Now, the entire chapter is a juggle between what is more important. Is humanity more important, or is war, hatred, brutality, that is more important? Let's see what wins at the end. Okay, let's understand what is there. Next, agreed on treating him and then give him to the police. Next, what did they agree on? Good thing is that let's treat him first to the humanity grounds they have leaned towards. Let us surrender him to the police. But servants agree, let's say the same, tell the same to the servants in our house. Let's see how they react. But it is true danger to keep him in the house. However, they risk it. Then the man cried. He was carried to the father's room. Father was a true Japanese person. If only he was alive. Okay, boy, he wouldn't have agreed to all of these things. Then before he was about to be laid on the bed, Hannah actually thought about, wait, those are my silk sheets. She tried, before she could actually switch it and change it, he was already, placed on the bed. Quilt, so that needs to be washed later on anyway. Sadao can't, says Hannah. Servant Yumi can. Sadao says, you can't wash, him. You can't do that. Okay, neither the doctor says, I will do it, I'll wash him. But Hannah says, no, you can't do it. Let Yumi is one of the servants. Let Yumi do it. I'll go explain the whole stuff to her. You explain it to the gardener and the rest of the servants that are there. You go explain it to them. I'll go explain it to Yumi and she will clean him up. Then, his pulse was weak when Sadao checked it, and if not operated, he will die. But what if, even if I operate him and then he dies? Okay, should I give it a try or should I not? If now I don't operate him, he is definitely going to try. But I think I should try. Will he not die anyhow after that too? Right? Hannah and him are talking about, right, you will operate him. You're thinking about whether he'll be saved, whether he'll not be saved. If I don't operate him now, what if he dies? You're thinking about all of that. But even after you saving him, will he not die? So all your efforts are fruitless in, saving this one life. But then this boy is not even 25. He's close to 25, means he's very young. Okay. Hannah followed Sadao. She didn't want it to be alone with this enemy on the bed. And she went to inform the others, didn't want to be left alone with the enemy. So they keep telling throughout this story that, it's not that we care for this person. It's not that we are sheltering the enemy because we think he is right and everything. But then there is something in them that is stopping them from, doing anything harm or not saving this person. Now that is where one can say humanity is above all, right? Master must not heal. So the servants were of the opinion that the master should not attend to this enemy that is there on the bed. That is not right, right? The gunshot, there are two things that have happened. The gunshot, he was shot by the enemy, which is like the Japanese people, our people. On top of that, the sea has hit him to the rock and wounded him. The sea has also punished him, according to the gardener, as he says. And if only we try to save him, we will also be avenged. We will also be in trouble. You mark my words, says the gardener. Gardeners and the servants were all of the same opinion. You should not treat him. Then because they are also afraid what is going to happen to us if only we tend to him. Then Yumi says, no, I am not going to wash this fellow at all. But Hannah, being the, the owner of the house or the mistress of the house, she says, no, I am commanding you to do so and you shall do so. Then what if the servants report only a prisoner? Now, what if the servants are, now that all of them are against this idea, what if they go and report? That is also something you need to think about. But then he's only a prisoner that we are tending to. He will be, later on, he'll also be surrendered. That's what their idea was. When he's fine, let's just get him back. Hannah cleaned but did not dare to turn back. Now Yumi said no. Even after all that, Yumi is like, no. You say whatever you want to say. I am not going to do it. Hannah decided, she decides to take charge and she says, I'm going to do it by myself. So she cleans him up. She did not dare to turn him back because she did not want to see the gunshot wound that was there. She did not dare to look at it. Okay. Then Sadao came back and he's ready to operate this guy who was wounded. And he asked Hannah to help. He asked, you have to be my nurse. You have to help me out in this operation. If it is necessary, you'll also have to give him the anesthesia if required. She says, I don't know how to give it. How do I give it? No, you'll do it. Don't worry. I'll help you out, he says. Then Hannah has to give anesthesia if needed. The bullet's still there. The doctor knows that the bullet's still there and he has lost a lot of blood. This is the time to operate. Let's start. The operation begins and the doctor starts. Hannah, could not stand the sight of blood. So she's about to almost faint. But Sadao is of the opinion that now you can't faint. Now, when I'm trying to save a life over here, you can't faint. And she goes out. But then eventually when Sadao is doing the operation, he gets so frustrated. My wife's out there, not being able to take the sight of blood and operation, everything, because she has never done it before. It is he who is the doctor, right? She is very new to it. Now I can't go and be by my wife's side. All I have to treat is this enemy. That thought also crosses his mind. Okay. Now, if Sadao stopped, the man would die. So he did not stop. He continued. Then she had not seen an operation before and his inability to go and be with her made him impatient and irritable. I just have to tend to this man who is just lying over there like dead, like under the knife in which I'm trying to treat him and do the surgery and everything. Then anesthesia time. This man starts groaning in pain. He's in total pain. He's screaming now. Then stories of sufferings of prisoners, are they really true? Now Hannah is asked to give the anesthesia because the man has started to groan in pain. Then Hannah also starts to introspect and retrospect about, is it true that the stories of all the prisoners, the people, enemy who is captured by these people, for example, if Japanese have Americans against them, this guy is their prisoner. Now, what are all these things the prisoners are, made to go through, the punishments, the things that they are made to go through. Now, is this all real, the stories that we hear about? Hannah thinks of all these things. Then, the Japanese army and liberation. So, wherever the Japanese army went, and wherever the news of the liberation came and everything, they were received very gladly by wherever they went. Okay. But General Takima, the general of this place, she had heard a lot of stories right? Stories about what General Takima was cruel to his own wife. Now, if you have somebody like him as the general, what about the prisoners that they get? How do you think they will be treated or they will be punished, right? She thinks about that. Will he not be brutal to this fellow that he knows nothing about if he's cruel to his own wife, right? She thinks about that. As she thinks of those things, then using the knowledge conferred by American professor. Now, it's very ironic as to how the Japanese doctor, went to America, got trained over there. One of the professors that trained him over there was also an American professor who has, with such beautiful nuances that he has taught him about being professional in this profession. The same strategy given by them, the same knowledge conferred by the Americans or an American man, he's using it over here in Japan to save an American guy in turn. So it is all coming one whole circle. Then, signs of bullet near kidney. So he's about to tap on a metallic thing, small metallic thing, which he gets to know that it is a bullet, which is somewhere near the kidney. Addressed to the enemy. So he says, okay, I think I am somewhere near to the bullet, my friend. He had the habit of talking to himself, and while he was talking to himself, he addressed the enemy as his friend. Okay? Now I'll leave you there to think about it. So the bullet's out finally, and not wanting to touch but still checking the pulse. It's not that you cared about him, Sadao cared about him or something like that, but then it is, as a doctor, it is his duty, so he checks his pulse. Then not wanting him to live, yet doing the best. This is what it is about. It's not that you care for him or anything, but you are doing involuntarily, you are doing all that you can, your best of your abilities to save this man, whoever it is, irrespective of the fact that he's American, Japanese, Chinese, doesn't matter. He is a man who is wounded and he's trying to live. Then, will live, says Dr. Sadao. He is going to live, he is going to recover, he's out of danger now. And Hannah served, asked not to be afraid. Hannah actually goes the next few days. She's the one, because the servants have all, retired from, serving him or tending to him. So Hannah is the one who is preparing everything, and she is going to him and serving him. She has asked him not to be afraid. Okay. And he's surprised that she knows English. Being a Japanese person, she knows English. Then it's not, it's not that she likes him. She also does not like him. But she is trying to comfort him, this wounded man. Then Sadao came in after 3 days, and he's angry to see this boy sitting. He's angry that, why are you sitting? You're not supposed to sit. You're supposed to lay down. And it will get you exhausted and you might even kill yourself. So lay down, says he. What are you going to do with me? Straight away asks the American, what have you planned to do with me? Because he's afraid. You can see the flicker of fear in his eyes. He is in the land of enemies and he has also been saved. That is, shocking, surprising. What more brutal have they planned to do with me? This guy might be wondering, right? Are you going to hand me over? Right? I do not know yet myself. Sadao says, I don't know, but just don't talk to me right now. He's not in the mood to talk. So the Yumi and the servants, rest of the servants, they decide meanwhile that they can't stay and they have to leave. You like Americans. They come to the conclusion that, you know what? Since you have lived in America for so long, we think that you like Americans and that you are supporting them. Hence, we can't be over here. It is an ultimate danger to be here. Ultimate threat to have an enemy in your house. So we are going to leave. Can't let a man die. That's all. Now, Hannah actually thinks about, so why are we not able to see what these other people or servants are seeing? Why are we thinking that, oh, let's just save him first? Why are we not like them? Is it because we like them? No, it's just that he is a wounded person and we want to save him. Okay. Then the gardener, cook, they also talk about how the master will surrender him. It's only that he's proud of his skills. The gardener and the rest of the servants also talk about, they try to give it another little interpretation and say, eventually the master is going to surrender him, but it's just that he's proud of his own medical, surgical skills that he wants to perform and save this guy and put him out of danger. Maybe that's how it is. Then Yumi is worried about the kids because there's a 3-month baby also that Yumi is taking care of, which belongs to Mr. Sadao and Hannah. She's worried about the children. She's close to them. Okay. Then, although great trouble, Hannah saw him as a prisoner. He is trouble, it is true. But he is also a prisoner who we are tending to, who we are trying to save his life. That's all. No response when he told his name. He had been asked, don't talk to us, don't even tell us your name. But irrespective of the fact, all of those, he says, my name is Tom. Now we get to know the American guy, the prisoner, the wounded guy. His name is Tom. Okay. Then, carefully examined by Sadao, Sadao eventually gets to know that he is fine. By fortnight, he'll be totally fine. By 2 weeks, fortnight is a period of 2 weeks, he'll be totally fine. So then that day, Dr. Sadao, he tries to draft a letter, okay, to the chief of police, telling him all the details, there was one night, this day, he had come, okay, and he was totally wounded and we tried to tend to him. He is out of danger now. He tried to type the letter so as to send it to the chief of police. 21st February, this is how it started. 21st February is the day he came to the house wounded. But the letter was unfinished. He typed halfway through it and just folded and put it into the secret desk. It just went inside the secret desk and never saw the day of light. Then, there was a scar on his neck. The scar on Tom's neck, red, which was pretty fresh looking. None of the people asked about it. Okay, what is it? How did it happen? Nobody asked him about it and it remained there, mysterious scar. Then the servants left and there were two things that happened the next day. Okay, all of the servants left and Yumi also told that the baby is really attached to me, very close to me. If only it cries too much, send a word to me to my house and you know what, I will come back. But all of the servants had done nothing that day and they all went. But over here, Hannah had taken up the responsibility as the mistress of the house. She did all the work, helped by our Dr. Sadao like a gentleman. He also helped her with all the house chores and everything and they did it together. Then the same day, another incident happened. As Hannah was working outside, she saw a guy coming in an official uniform and everything. She got scared. She moved towards Dr. Sadao and before she could say anything, the messenger himself came over there and he said, you have to come to the palace. Why does he have to come to the palace? Have they got to know? Have they come to arrest him? We don't know. Okay, let's find out. Sadao lets the general know the truth. Now, before that, he's asked to come to the palace, right? There, in the palace, we get to know, now Hannah asks, is it because he's getting arrested? She's thinking about all that. But the informer or the messenger tells that the old general is sick again and you have to come to the palace. Then Hannah thinks, oh, that's all? Nothing else? I thought so much. I thought maybe they are arresting him. Then that is enough. He goes to the palace and gets to know that the general is sick. However, he lets the general know all the truth. This is what has happened and please, let's do something about it. Now, shows how skillful you are. The general is not angry. He in turn says, this shows how skillful you are because he actually needs this guy to save him, right? It's also because he's selfish. He wants this doctor to save him. Then, so hence, since I want you to save me, I need to save you first. But the doctor is of the opinion that there are people, right? There are people to tend to you. There are other doctors, isn't it? Now, there are other surgeons, but I don't trust anyone other than you. I don't trust them, says the general. Most of the good doctors have been trained by Germans and hence they are ruthless. Even if I die, they will consider this operation as successful. So I don't want to deal with I don't want to be this experimental piece. So is there a way where you can, combine this German ruthlessness or professional, being a professional doctor with the American sentimentality? Americans, according to him, are a little sentimental. And can you combine both of these and tend to me? That will be nice. Give it a try. But can Japanese people do that? Can't they do it? Asks our old general. Then they come up with a plan. Mostly the old general comes up with this plan and he says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send my most skillful private assassins to come at night and kill this American prisoner or the enemy that is there in your house. That's the plan they come up with. By the general, he says, keep the door open, tell Hannah nothing. Keep the door of his particular room open so that they can come and finish the job and go. Hannah knew nothing about it. Not used to waiting for permission. Now, when Dr. Sadao comes home, he sees that this prisoner over here or the enemy over here, Tom over here, has started to walk around the house or in his room. Now, he says, who gave you permission to walk around and everything? Dr. Sadao says. But Tom says, I don't think I am used to taking permissions and commands and everything. Then, Tom's feeling pretty fine now. He is, recovered way much and he's fine now. If all the Japs are like you, says Tom, if all the Japanese were like you, we wouldn't have had a war in the first place. No war. Sadao, that day, After this talks and everything, he goes, tries to sleep, but he's, very disturbed. He is not able to sleep. The thought of them coming, killing him, it sort of kept him awake all night. Then next morning, he decided to go first. He asked Hannah to stay back. He decided to go first to the room. But to his surprise, or probably also because he mostly wanted, the American or Tom was still there. Nothing had happened to him. What to do with him now? Hannah asks. Hannah also comes inside without knowing anything, and she asks, what do we do with him now? Then, in a day or two, give me a day or two, I'll think about it. Let's decide on what we can do. Then, second day, Hannah heard the crash too. Now, the second day they waited, and now Hannah has also heard the crash. There's some crash that happens, some sound that comes. She's about to go, but Sadao stops her. Wait, don't go. Now, she doesn't know what is going to happen. What is happening? Sadao, you have not told me anything. What is happening in the house? There's so much chaos. He says, don't go. That's all. Then, the next day also, nothing happened. Whoa, so the assassins lost the way or something, or what happened, right? Not another night. Now, Sadao didn't keep himself with this, apprehension of waiting for this something to happen, and at the same time, not knowing how to take it. This total dilemma, he could not take it. I can't take it another night, and there should be something that I can do. So he also comes up with another plan now. What's the plan? I don't care. It's not that I care about this man. Yet again, he tells himself, it's not that I care about this person. It's just that I can't take this anymore. Now, simply not worth it. It's simply not worth my attention and everything. So what's the plan? He's going to give him food and extra clothing. Who? To Tom by Dr. Sadao. And he's going to go to this isolated island that is there, which is submerged. When there is storm, it usually submerges. But this is not the time when storm is coming up. There's no storm as of now. But before the storm begins, he has to find what? Until Korean boat passes, you get in touch with this Korean boat and move from there. But till that time, you can be in this isolated island where there's no one, right? So Tom asks, do I have to? Or you really think I can have you over here? No, I can't. It is mandatory. It is obvious that you have to leave, right? So it's not hidden that you're here, isn't it? It's not like you're welcomed here. So you have to go. It's understood. Worked without flashlight. So the whole night, the next night, Dr. Sadao worked without the flashlight because he didn't want people to get to know. So both set with all the essentials. The plan is almost about to come to its action. Then Hannah knew nothing. She was not told anything about it. And as usual, when he comes, just like how he comes back from work, he came home and casually back from work. Then the servants will be back. He told Hannah that once when the foreigner is gone, the servants will also come back home. Then the scars on the scars on his neck, nobody has talked about it. It's just there. It's sort of fresh till now. And the final checkup is also done. He's checked for one last time. Then he says, you know that you're saving my life again. Tom is at this juncture where the enemy has not just saved his life once, but twice. So he says, you are saving my life again. Do you realize that? Then all signals taught important tips too. Now that's not the time. It's inevitable that Dr. Sadao has to save him. So he says, that's not the time. Let's just figure out what has to be done. The final checkup is done. And what are the signals? When you reach over there, you have to show the flashlights twice. And if there is any danger, then what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to show the flashlight once. So all of those were taught to him. Later on, a Japanese dress was put on him. Obviously, why would he go in the regular dress? Because people will make out who he is. So a Japanese dress, and in order to cover his yellow hair, that will also be seen, right? It will be obvious to figure out that he's not a Japanese, but an American or somebody else. It's a prisoner or an enemy. So his head was covered with a black cloth, and shook Sadao's hand warmly when it was their final, departure time. They shook hands firmly and waited for one more flash. Our Sadao over here at night, he waited for him to flash twice so that he knows that, okay, he's going to be fine. He reached that isolated island. Then we see at the end of the lesson, our Dr. Sadao over here, he's sort of pondering over these thoughts. He's pondering about the list of Americans that he has met through and how each one of them has given him a sort of different experience, or encounter with each one of them has been very different. So a couple of them, for example, would be, he has not been sure whether the general would live, but he lived after that. Coming back to the general's part, he did live, but what was told to him? It was told to him that this enemy over here escaped. So the servants were back as usual, but they burnt sulfur in order to get rid of the smell, the white pants smell that was there, and promised to kill, but our old general over here, he forgot about it. Okay. So it's not lack of patriotism. You understand what I mean, says the general. It's just that I was too much worried about my own health. I forgot about it. Good that he forgot. Now, stay quiet. Don't tell anyone about this. You will be rewarded and everything, the general says. True reward that night, our Sadao over here, he actually gets his true reward. When no one was there on the island, his prisoner was gone. Now, at night, he did not get any flash, which means he had asked him to flash if he was still there. He did not get any flash, which means some Korean boat or something had passed that way and he is gone. He is safe. Okay. Safe and doubtless, that is the true reward. Then other white faces, that's what I was telling you about. He thought of the other white faces that he knows. The professor that taught him about his, medicine and surgery. Then his wife, that day whose party they had gone to. His wife who was very annoying, very talkative. Then where he met Hannah, of course. The anatomy professor who taught him that you have to be merciful, mercy above all, humanity above all when you're dealing with people's lives with the help of the knife. Of course, it's not to kill people you use this knife, on the contrary, to other purposes. Then, ignorant and dirty old landlady. The landlady that he had met with out of those, so the American people were pretty much judgmental, prejudiced about the Japanese people, hence it was difficult for him to find a place. And finally, when he found the place, it was this dirty old landlady who was troublesome. She was not really happy about it, but then she somehow gave the place to him. And one more important thing is that she's the same lady who tended to him when he was suffering from influenza, right? So tough to find a place for a Japanese fellow with prejudiced American background or America. But she nursed him through influenza. She actually helped him. She was the only one who took care of him. However, he was not able to be grateful to her. She was at the same time mean to him, okay? Finally, the white repulsive face of the prisoner. And then the next face that he would remember is the face of this prisoner, of this enemy who he tended to, whose life he saved, not just once, but twice. And he thinks, I wonder why I could not kill him. What is it that exactly that stopped me from killing this guy? Why did I not do it? Why was I not able to do it? Which tells us that it is true that we have differences. It is true that we don't like people at times. It is true that we hate people at times. But when it comes to humanity, when it comes to that level, when the entire world is going through chaos and everything, humanity matters. It is above all. We come down to saving each other, no matter who you are, where you are from, where do you belong, what do you speak, it does not matter. On that note, I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Read the chapter thoroughly, completely, line by line. And if you have any doubts, you can get back to me anytime. Thank you.